Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
I'm me, I'm Rob, and we're here to talk about some news around the league for more about the Giants.
Oh, we are here to talk all kinds of news. And guys, literally, as I went to go share this to Facebook groups, as we do that every episode here, I just saw something that literally just broke. So we have a topic to talk about that we didn't even plan to talk about, that Rob doesn't even know we're going to talk about yet, because that's how fun we are here. He's nervous now. We're going to put him on the spot. We have no time to prep for this. We're just going to wing it. We're going to wing it.
Operation H.
But we also have other Giants news to give that we did prep for. Plus, we also got a scouting report today. As I said, we're going to give you guys another scouting report for Kyle McCord, who's been one that people have been asking for like crazy in the comments. It seems like almost every single one of the videos we had done for the prior group, everybody was like, how about Will Howard? How about Kyle McCord? Well, we did Will Howard yesterday. Going to do Kyle McCord today. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and, break it down for you guys. But before we do, news that, like I said, literally, we're trying to share this live video out to people. And the news I see here just broke. It's according to Sports Business Journal. The Giants are reporting looking to sell up to 10% of the team. The Giants franchise is estimated to be worth $7.85 billion, guys. It's the fourth most valuable franchise in the NFL. The Giants, crazy. Like, they've been owned by a combined, by the Mara and Tisch families, with each owning a 50-50 stake. Obviously, the Mara family is the one who started the Giants. Wellington Mara, obviously, just an absolute NFL icon. And no one knows why they want to sell it. But that's a little crazy. You got to wonder, though, because remember we talked about this, like I want to say a couple months ago, that Eli Manning had said if he ever got the chance to buy a part into the team, that he'd be interested in doing it, because they were asking him, because obviously Brady had bought a piece of the Raiders. You got to wonder what's going on, though. But also, are they selling low right now because the Giants have been so shit the last 10 years? Like,
well, you also got to wonder too: is the Maris selling 10%? Is it?
It just says
selling, or is it? Are they doing it 5-5 and giving it still Meritis equal split, or like?
Yeah.
Or like, is this something like they've talked about? Like, you kind of just alluded to, like, Eli's talk said he would purchase part of the team. Like, hey, Eli, I know it's $700 million, but or $800 million, but come be part of the team for 10%.
Yeah. I mean, 10% is still, you're talking almost $800 million, guys. It's still a lot of freaking money.
You did that, that's what I just said.
Yeah, like absolutely insanity. Like, sorry, I'm trying to look up the news as we're talking about it, because like I said, it literally just, got released here. I mean, I'm kind of shocked by this, because I'm trying to figure out why they would want to go ahead and do that. They've actually hired a banker to facilitate this movie and everything. Like, the Giants are legit serious about this. That's a little crazy here. Forbes, by the way, put it at $7.3 billion. Apparently, CNBC put it at the 7.85. So you're still getting, either way, you're getting 7.3 to almost 800,000 at that point. 800 million, not thousand. Sorry, but that's just crazy, absolutely crazy. So I'm looking in here to see any other news they got there. But again, the big thing for us is going to be, why are they doing this? How would it affect the team? And why would anybody want to buy this team in the condition it's in?
Because it is also it is a very fruitful franchise at the end of the day. Like, you're selling at a low point and the expectations come back high. Like you just said, the fourth most valuable team when they just came off a terrible decade and third worst of last year. Like,
but why? I'm getting like also on the Giants side. Like, why would you sell when you're having this kind of issue? It makes me think that one of them is having monetary issues. Steve Tisch obviously is known from his Hollywood days. He's very much involved in movies. The Mara family. Listen. Let me put it this way: when you have the kind of money the Mara family supposedly has, and I say supposedly because I haven't seen their bank accounts. You have a lot of diversified portfolio investments and blah 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 blah. Of course, that's just rich people talk for. We move our money around so the bank can't give us no interest on it whatsoever, basically. But they're mostly known for the Giants. I mean, they got obviously the daughters who are actresses and all, like Kate Mara and Rooney Mara, but John Mara and all the family otherwise is pretty much known for the Giants. They have family members that are all throughout the organization, which is a part of the problem, but that's a whole separate issue. It just makes you wonder what's going on. Because let's be very frank, that the football team is not causing issues. As much as we joke around about it being a crappy team the last 10 years, and it has been, that's not the issue. Because the Giants are still a highly profitable franchise. Highly profitable, because schmucks like us keep coming anyway and buying stuff. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
So, you got a team here with two owners. A 50-50 shot. Which one? But I got to think one of them's having money issues, and that's why they're doing this. Either that, or I can think of it again. We're learning this on the fly here, and nobody has reported yet why. The other option is maybe one of them wants to liquidate some of their assets to buy something else. That happens as well, because you're giving up 10%. As we put the comment up before, Deb saying that the Giants would not be ceding any control. It'd just be somebody who owns 10% of the team, just collects their dividends and could sell that 10% potentially, depending on what's written in the contract when it becomes more valuable, that kind of thing. But
yeah, you keep thinking about the amount of dollars. You keep thinking about the money side, the financial side. Like one of these families might have issues, or the Meritage family got together and said they're flying planes over our stadium and saying fire everyone, liquidate, sell. Like we have not been good for years, and that medium Coke idea maybe wasn't the best idea. What if we get Eli, maybe Phil Simms, maybe some other legendary like former teams?
I don't think that's it. I really don't.
You don't, but I mean, once again, it's just bring.
Don't know.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I know.
You're saying to play the other side because
you are the Al Pacino.
I'm the Al Pacino here, and what I'm saying is it could just be a thing to get more butts and seats. Yeah.
Remember that from that Jack and Jill, that stupid Sandler movie it's absolutely horrendous, but Al Pacino doing the Dunkachino commercial was just spectacular. Yeah. That's the only good part of the whole movie.
But I'm saying, like, what if you also gotta wait to see like who buys it. So if you see like Eli buy it and you see like LT somehow come up money with a little bit of his Coke money here and there, but like you see like things come around and it's a whole bunch of former Giants that pitch in, like Strahan goes in there, like that's probably more of a publicity move and saying like, look, the Giants ownership is still about the Giants overall and its legacy and what an organization is. Now the guys that help get them to where they are making more money. And now you can say like, hey, let's rebuild as a whole Giants history team together.
I don't know. I don't think they're bringing anybody to help rebuild because I don't think that Mara thinks he's doing anything wrong as part of it. Like, I think he's oblivious to this. Like, oh, it's not us. It's bad luck and it's blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like that. I think that's what more he thinks. And I think he thinks that he's the right guy to right the ship. I really do think he thinks that. But like I said, I'm hoping it's Eli. I'm hoping Eli gets a group together or whatever, because obviously I don't think Eli has, $750 million
does he have $800 million laying around? Like,
probably not. Probably not. I mean, I don't think
he's
many
had
people
a very
in his
fruitful
life that
career.
do.
He's had a very fruitful career as playing for the Giants, post Giants, doing everything, but it's a lot of
Yeah, those fruit trees better be next to a money tree, apparently, based on what you're saying there. Then, because if he's going to do it,
that's a lot.
Yeah, I mean that's a little crazy to me. But like I said, I don't know. Otherwise, I don't. If it's not a money thing, and again, it's either because they're made a bad financial decision and one of them's in money troubles, or one of them just wants some spare cash to go buy something. I don't see why else you would do it. Why else would you sell 10%, especially when NFL teams are just increasing and increasing in value? You know, like we talked about, $4 billion was it for the Commanders when they got sold? Or $6 billion it was, like $6 billion, wasn't it?
Was it 6? I don't think it was quite that high.
Oh, let's see.
It was up there though.
I'm gonna look it up real quick. Commanders selling price. This is why I hate doing things on the fly. Damn you, breaking news. $6.05 million, $6.5 billion, the most expensive purchase of a North American sports team ever. And the Giants are over $7 billion. So that'll break a record based on just evaluation, even though they're not selling the whole team. But like I said, I'm wondering what's going on. And I am very curious to see what happens. You know, I mean, like Magic Johnson, for example, bought a stake in the Commanders. And if they do a thing like that, because again, they can do the 10% or whatever they're going to give up. And it does say up to 10% in the story, by the way. But they can divvy it up amongst various people. So Magic Johnson, for example, put $240 million in to purchase 4% of the Commanders. He was part of that group. Maybe it's something like that they do with Eli, assuming he has that kind of money lying around and is legit interested in doing it, not just talking, out of his tuchus, to put it nicely. It's the second Yiddish term I've used today.
Ooh.
I know.
Hi.
But I just, it's crazy. It's crazy, really. I mean, that is not news I expected to be breaking on the show here as we're starting. That's definitely for sure.
No.
So. But like I said, we'll keep you guys up to date as we hear more, let you know what's going on. And hopefully it is just they want to bring in somebody else to actually bounce off ideas that actually knows what they're talking about. But I doubt that. That's just not the Giants' way. Giants' way is to put to go like ostrich style and stick their head in the sand and pretend everything's okay.
We got this.
All right, let's get to the plan stuff that we plan on talking about here. So, as we're talking about getting a new Giants partial owner, we've also got to talk about a person leaving. It's Brian Daboll's son officially leaving the Giants there, jettisoning here from the team. And Pat Leonard is the guy who I first saw break this news on X. He said Giants offensive assistant Christian Daboll, the son of head coach Brian Daboll, has left the team's coaching staff to pursue other avenues, per sources. Now, again, he was an offensive assistant. It's all they list him as. They really don't say too much as far as what he did. I can tell you he was a student coach coming out of Penn State. He literally just graduated Penn State, got a job with the Giants automatically with his dad. But I can tell you that from what I read, I remember some reading about him, obviously, when we first hired him a couple of years ago. He was well thought of at Penn State. In fact, they actually had him communicate the plays to the quarterback during the games. And that doesn't sound like a big thing, but that's kind of an important thing.
Yeah, it's a very big thing.
Like, it doesn't sound on paper like, I just tell the quarterback what plays based on what I'm told. You know what I mean? Like, but it's a very important part of that. And if you can't communicate things clearly, move fast, and think fast, then you're going to be in trouble. And the whole offense is going to be in trouble. It's a very important part as far as what student coaches do. It's not like he's going to become the offensive coordinator as a student coach. So, we'll see what happens. I'm kind of curious because I feel like, and maybe I'm just guessing way too much, but what the hell? We're doing it tonight. Let's guess. You got to guess, like, Brian Daboll is a fiery guy. I think that's very safe to say, correct? I mean, would we agree on that? So
he's Mr. Heatmeister.
I can only imagine having him as your dad and you like disagreeing with him and what happens.
Yeah.
Like,
listen.
Yeah.
Drew, like, I don't know how your relationship was with your father, but when I was a teenager, growing up with my father, like, we butted heads, and we were not. There was no game online. Like, we're talking about like stupid stuff around the house, like just kid stuff, button heads, because we both had an ego and we both do whatever.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you're the same personality as your father, and that's part of the issue. If you're
that's
one stubborn, the other one's stubborn. It's like, whew.
That's what I'm getting at. Now you're just thinking about something around the house, something simple. Like you just be like, how do you close a door or something silly? But now you're talking about a competitive team in the NFL, the highest caliber, and guys who aren't related get into it. Now, like you got this blood, like could be pretty intense inside. But then again, like maybe that's why Daboll hasn't been so intense this past season.
I would love to be a fly in the wall as his son hands him his 2 weeks notice. Like, I don't know if that's the thing, like in this scenario, but it's like, could you imagine that? I've decided this team sucks and I'm out.
Or like, maybe Daboll was off to the side going, hey, get out because we need to start winning again.
Oh my God. Can you imagine? Oh my God. Like I said, there's no way that conversation is not awkward as hell. So like I said, hopefully the best for the kid. I mean, listen, I always want to root good for people in general, as much as we joke around and we get a little negative right now because everything with the Giants. But I always want to hope the best for people and hope success wherever he goes. Young guy, obviously, he's got some connections in the business, so I'm sure he won't have a problem, finding the job there. As Rob, your camera's going all crazy again. There you go.
We're back.
Hey, you're back. All right, let's go over a Giant that I thought had a really good year. And he's kind of getting pooped on, to put it nicely here. He's kind of, not getting treated right by NFL.com because we got to talk about how does Tracy rank with running backs overall? Like, how does he rank amongst running backs in the NFL? Because NFL.com did a whole list of top 75 running backs they did. So I want to say that they totally disrespected him. It's not like they put him at 74 or something crazy, but they ranked him 25th overall in the NFL. Now, his stats on the year: 17 games, 192 rushing attempts, 839 yards, 4.4 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns, 38 receptions for 284 yards, 1 receiving touchdown, and 2 fumbles lost. Now, the write-up they gave, they said, Tracy played minimally in the first month of the season, appearing on no more than a third of Giants' offensive snaps in any game. But after Devin Singletary's injury, the 2024 fifth-round pick stepped up for Big Blue, averaging nearly 14 carries per game over the final 13 games, and ended the season with 1,100 scrimmage yards. There's a chance Tracy will be given a bigger role in 2025. Now, that sounds very good write-up overall. Like that, I don't hear anything negative. That's all very positive. He's 25th overall, guys. Let's think about that for a minute. There's 32 teams in the league. So you're telling me that you think he is in like the bottom, like
third.
Yeah, like the bottom 30% or so of
bottom quarter.
Of the NFL starters running back wise.
Yeah.
That's a little disrespectful, I think. I mean, if you look at where he's at, he was 18th in the league in yards per carry, which, keep in mind, yards per carry, if he gets like 0.1, 0.2 yards per carry, he jumps up to like top 10. And that's like not much of a difference you're talking about at that point. So that's literally saying if he got 40 more yards in the same amount of carries, he would have been top 10. What is going on with your camera, man? You're giving me like shakes over here. Let's see, I'm getting like a Tourette's syndrome thing here going on here. So what's that? What's that? That's not it. What's the flashing light thing?
The seizures.
Seizures. Okay, you're giving me seizures here. No, but this is a term, epilepsy, right? Isn't that the We're getting canceled today again.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway. But yeah, 18th overall yards per carry. He's 23rd in rushing yards. And keep in mind what they said. 23rd in rushing yards, but he didn't play the first month of the season, basically. And it's not a 12-month season, guys. It's not like we're going at least 8%. No. You're talking about a quarter of the season, basically,
just
didn't play in, basically. And he still was 23rd in rushing yards. 23rd in total yards overall. and was only ranked 25th in rushes attempted. And I just think that it's a little crazy. I mean, and I'm not saying he's a top 10 back, guys. I'm not suggesting that in any way, shape, or form. I'm really not. Let me be very clear in that. He's not Saquon. He's not Derrick Henry. He's not Joe Mixon.
Not
he's
yet.
not, he's not those guys. Though he's got a better yards per carry average than Joe Mixon. But he's being ranked with guys. The guys right above him. Let's go to that real quick. You got David Montgomery, for example, ranked 20th overall. And I'm not even trying to be disrespecting David Montgomery. He's a good player. He really is. He's a solid running back and has been for some years in the league now. He's ranked at 20th, and he had worse numbers than Tyrone Tracy Jr. And, oh, yeah, he played in every game. DeAndre Swift, ranked 21st overall, is averaging 0.6 yards per carry lower. More than half a yard difference per carry. That's insanity. Like I said, I'm not trying to say he's top 10. He's probably more along the lines of 18.
Yeah, let's go say high teens.
This is without me going down the full list of every single person to say, okay, well, this person's better, this person's worse, this person's better. But no, I'm looking. Like I said, I look at the list and I just gave you two people right off the top of my head that he should be higher up, and that's guys who are ranked number 20 and 21st. So if he's higher than those guys, he's going to be right around that low teens, maybe right around 20, and I think that's valid. But I see some of these guys on this list, and I'm like, no. DeAndre Swift, first off, was a volume carry guy. Literally 3.8 yards per carry. And you think he's better than Tracy? You're living off of the prior year when he did that with the Eagles.
You 100% are, because he has not played the same since he left.
Because he's not the same player, because he didn't have the offensive line.
100%.
Same as Saquon wasn't a 2K running back with us. That line and that system makes a difference. No disrespect to the players. Sure they're both not bad players. Obviously, Saquon is considered the best running back in football right now because of the last year he had. But Swift was considered one of the better ones last year.
I mean, I did say that going into...
Yeah, we did. Miles Sanders, same thing, obviously. He's been pooped since he went to Carolina.
Some guys, like some running backs, they have a great thing where they're at and think they're way better than what they are because they're sitting there behind a top 5, top 10 line, and then you go somewhere that needs a good running back. You go to a worse team or just a worse line on a team, and it makes the world of difference. Like
it's like
when your line can block for you to get you that hole, it makes a difference of 2 yards per carry.
Look at like the Broncos back in 20 years ago, and every single year they had a different 1,000-yard rusher, and they would just keep on picking up guys at the league minimum or drafting guys in the 6th round basically, and doing that because it worked. It was the system, it was the offensive line. It's kind of the same thing there. So I think that's the problem, is that we're still giving Swift credit for what he did last year, because there's no other way you try to convince me that a guy who did 3.8 yards per carry is somehow better than a guy who did 4.4 yards per carry. That's a big freaking difference. Absolutely big difference. So, like I said, hopefully Tracy just balls out next year, ends up a lot higher in this list next year because he deserves it. I think he's a better player. I don't think he's top 10, but I think he's at least an average starting running back in this league. And to get that out of a 5th round pick is a win. And we need some wins, guys. let us have the win. We don't have a lot of wins. We don't deserve a lot of wins. We need this one. Let us have the win. Let us have it. All right. Let's talk about something that might be a loss for us here, because the Jaguars are set to interview Brandon Brown, the Giants' assistant GM, for their GM position that is still wide open after they went ahead and basically cut their GM so they can go ahead and get Liam Cohen, the coach. And that's an interesting scenario because you got a guy who literally has never been a head coach before, has had trouble even keeping jobs in back-to-back seasons. Because if you look at his resume, he changes almost every year his team or his position. And now you're going to basically hire a GM to work with him. And the GM doesn't get a say in who the coach is. Oh yeah, and it's the Jaguars who just never do well when Tom Coughlin's not there. I don't know what it is with Tom Coughlin in Jacksonville. It's the only time they do good. But yeah, that's it. It's an interesting spot, and I get the intrigue that there's only 32 of these jobs in the league. But Brandon Brown, dude, you're smart in this. Don't do it. Don't do it. Wait a year and just take Shane's job.
Please.
Jeremy Fowler was the one who let everybody know about the Jaguars. He said, this was on X. He said, Jaguars conducted several Zoom interviews for GM candidates this week and will do more over the several next 2 days. Among expected group is 3 assistant GMs, Ian Cunningham of the Bears, Chad Alexander of the Chargers, Brandon Brown of the Giants, and former Titans GM John Robinson. Now, what's interesting is you look at the collective of people we're talking about here. You got the Bears, not a good franchise. The Chargers, good franchise. The Giants, not a good franchise, at least right now. And the Titans' former GM that totally decimated and ruined that team.
Yeah. I mean,
that's not a good list to pick from.
And you could also argue, you said Chargers a good franchise. They really haven't been a good franchise for the past quite some time.
I'll trade with them right now.
They're like right there to get you hope and never make it.
I want hope. I haven't had hope in years.
Yeah. I hear you.
Even in 22, we went to the playoffs. None of us actually expected to go to Super Bowl run.
I mean, the Chargers haven't had a Super Bowl run.
No, but you know, because you have a quarterback that's decent there. You've had a defense at times, and you got a good coach. You know, there's a chance that could happen. I'm not saying it's likely, but there's a chance. You can go into the season with some optimism and hope. The Giants, we went from 9 wins to 6 wins to 3 wins. We're down to 0 wins next season, guys. I'm just saying.
3.
That's where we're at. But like I said, to me, that's not an impressive group, and it just tells you that nobody wants the job. It's kind of like the Saints job that went to Kellen Moore. Nobody else wanted it. No one.
Yeah.
Mike Kafka was looked at as a backup. Yeah, that's how bad it is. So, yeah, I gotta imagine the Jaguars fans are probably not very excited about this, and hopefully things do change for them, because I feel bad. I feel bad for anybody who's been a fan of a team that's just consistently crappy. And I was long before the Giants, but one of those teams. I just feel like if you're a fan of a team that's consistently crappy, and you can continue being a fan, supporting the team, getting excited, going to the games, buying the gear, you're a real fan. I respect people who are fans of crappy teams. I really do. And I know it sounds kind of condescending like that. You're a fan of a crappy team, but they know it. Same as we admit it now. Giants suck right now. Giants have been a crappy team. So, like I said, not a good combo, that's for sure. But hopefully they get a smart young guy like a Brandon Brown. Not Brandon Brown, because I want to keep him, but like Brandon Brown. And, they get a guy who can help turn that thing around, because there's been some hope lately with Trevor Lawrence for them. There's been some hope. But Trevor Lawrence had, like I said, that one good half a season. In 22, the same year we had ours. They got everybody's hopes up. Now he's being paid a ton of money. Not a good combo.
Yeah, well, he went on a tear, and they won, 7 games straight?
It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous that season. But he hasn't repeated that since. Wins or the tear.
23, he still got into the playoffs in potential.
Playoffs!
And 24, just Amber hurted the field.
Yeah, that was bad. It was bad. So
yeah,
but he also got hurt, so he didn't get a chance to have a full season. Maybe he would have turned the season around. You never know. So
yeah, that beautiful hair didn't help him from a concussion this year.
Well, I don't think that's what his hair is there for. I don't know personally as a balding man, but I've heard.
You see those locks?
I remember when I had hair. You know who else remembers? Petridge Farm remembers.
I didn't Petridge Farm's here.
All right, guys. We got 2 more things to go over with you guys. Let's go ahead and pay the bills real quick, and then we'll go over that with you. But we're saving the best for last year. We got 2 big news here. Stafford to the Giants. Rodgers to the Rams. And
what?
We got our scouting report here on, like I said, on McCord here. So let's go over that with you guys after we pay the bills.
Thanks for listening to Two.
That's not the bills. I hit the wrong button.
Sanders.
This is what happens when we shoot late at night. Every time.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
Whoop, there we go.
Whoop, there it is.
Oh, I can't believe I hit the wrong button. This is the problem with live recording, guys. You never know what's going to happen. But again, guys, if you want to support the show, you also can do it, of course, through Super Chats on YouTube, stars on Facebook, and, of course, the freeway by letting people know about the show. Because point blank, we suck at marketing. We count on all you guys to help us out. So feel free to share it to a friend. Let people know on social media platforms about it there and help us out there. So appreciate you guys.
Share the content, put it in your stories, whatever you gotta do.
Oh, yes, whatever stories are. That's an Instagram thing. I don't know Instagram.
Facebook.
I really don't. What? Facebook just took it from Instagram. It's an Instagram thing.
It's also the same.
Which makes no sense. It's like Threads, Facebook, Instagram, all the same damn company. Just make one platform good. And stop.
Threads is Instagram.
No, Threads. No, Threads is their version of X, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it.
Oh yeah, that's Instagram now.
No, that's not. Instagram is a different thing. It's a totally different app.
Threads. That's
connected
to Threads.
They might have connected Threads into it somewhat, but it's a completely different thing. There's an actual app for it. We have a page, by the way. Feel free to like us on Threads. We don't ever post on it, but we're there. Same as Blue Sky. I got that one for us too. I claim that just in case, but that's just me claiming stuff for us just so nobody else tries to pretend to be us. So we even have an OnlyFans. No, I'm kidding. We don't have an OnlyFans.
We just have fans only.
Yes. It'd be funny if we did. Just put a random picture of a foot and see what happens. Anyway, let's talk about the rest of the news here. So Colin Cowherd. Listen, let's be honest. Colin Cowherd's a little bit of a shock jock at times. Talks a little bit of his took us there, but he also does know people in the football business there, obviously, and does have some connections. He made a suggestion on a show of Stafford to the Giants and Rodgers to the Rams. Crazy. But here's how, because I got to say this. Some of what he said makes sense. Some of what he said is no sense whatsoever. There's a mixed bag in this whole thing. He said, this sounds crazy. The Matt Stafford to the Giants stuff is real, I'm told. The Giants do not like the quarterback class, and Brian Daboll, the head coach, and Joe Schoen, the GM, have got to win or they'll be fired by Thanksgiving. They're going to get run out of the building. They're going to make a move, I believe, on Matt Stafford. Now, what's interesting on this, we've talked about this before. Love it or hate it, you cannot trust a damn thing the Giants say around draft time. And the analogy we always use is the Giants had it well known that they wanted absolutely nothing to do with Kayvon Thibodeau in the draft until pick 5 when he was available, and they just happily, gleefully skipped up to the podium.
Yeah.
Card. You can't
Willy
trust.
Wonka going to the chocolate factory.
Yeah, they wonka him. That's for sure. You can't trust anything that the Giants say. So we got to really go ahead and look at that as a possibility. That's all fake. But you never know. I mean, and that's the thing, you don't know. So if Colin Cowherd has people telling him that the Giants don't believe in this draft class, then maybe there's something to that. Because he does have some connections. I wouldn't put it past him to sit there and say he just knows things for the sake of saying it because he wants to sound smart. It's not that difficult. I have a source. Source tells me this.
Yeah, then they're not liable.
Yeah, exactly. You're not getting in trouble in any way, shape, or form. It's all good. You can just say basically whatever you want. But
I also have the question too. Like we've talked about this. Giants in recent years, Shane in the draft, you can't trust him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
it's like everyone's saying it, like we're saying it. Like there's other teams that definitely watch around to see what they say.
yeah, and
He's not saying that.
There's plenty of people also that say this quarterback class is not good. And it's not. Let's be very honest about this. It's not like as bad as it was a couple of years ago with the Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis year. It's not that year. But this is definitely not nearly as good as most years are. He also went on to say that the Rams are tired of the constant quarterback talk. And Matt Stafford's wife saying things public. He said they're really not happy that Cooper Kupp about going public, as he put it, going public was something they tried to keep quiet. So last week, obviously, Cooper Kupp announced that the Rams would be looking to trade him and his time with the Rams was over. So apparently that was something he decided to make public. The Rams wanted to keep it quiet, which makes sense to the Rams side, by the way, guys.
100%.
Kelly Stafford, the wife of Matt Stafford, on her podcast the morning after, said this past week, said, "My husband wants to win. He's not trying to put a team in a bad situation. I will say the trading of Cooper, I'm confused because we were one play away from going to the NFC Championship. And I think if we go, win-win." So, yeah, let me put it this way. Teams don't like when you talk against things they're doing. They don't. And that's every team. That's not just a Ram problem. The Giants have the same exact problem. That's why you see guys that are a headache eventually being out of the building, the OBJs, the Jeremy Shockeys, no matter what kind of talent you have. And Stafford is a very talented person. But Stafford and his wife are not going to stop them from doing what they want. And they want people to just shut up and get in line. I'm not saying I agree with it. We'll be very clear on that. You're a person, you can speak your mind freely, especially on your own platform that you created in her podcast in that case. You know, like imagine one of us being told, hey, you got to pipe down because your significant other's boss doesn't like what you're saying. Like, tough. It's my podcast. We're going to say what we want.
Yeah. Listen, they don't pay the bills.
You know, exactly. Sometimes I forget to pay the bills too by hitting the button, but it happens, you know. But you know, it's just interesting. So the more interesting thing I thought was what the cost would be. So Coward said he was told the Rams would want to get the Giants' number 3 overall pick along with a day 2 pick. And he said the Rams would then trade that pick and trade down to get even more picks next year so that the ammo to move up to get a quarterback and what's a much better quarterback class. Then Coward made the suggestion, this was his suggestion, not who he was talking to, but these sources he supposedly has, said the Rams could then go get Aaron Rodgers as a 1 or 2 year rental. And he said, you know, you look at what Rodgers did last season, and a lot of the issues on the team was coaching issues. But I would beg to differ that it was also personality issues with the quarterback. But, you know.
And a terrible offensive line. And
yeah, exactly. And, you know,
just working together.
So he was saying, you know, he goes to a guy like Sean McVay. Sean McVay is well thought of, obviously, in the league. Sean McVay is the guy that Aaron Rodgers would probably have respect for. LaFleur, who we obviously worked with over in Green Bay, his brother is the OC over there. So obviously there's familiarity with some of the systems that they would have over there. It'd be a good spot for him overall. All of that makes sense, except for one thing. There is no way in goddamn hell that I'm okay with the Giants potentially giving up a number 3 overall pick, let alone a day 2 pick along with it, for Matt Stafford.
Listen, Matt Stafford is talented, and a lot of people are like thinking about like, man, that guy's been great for like the past 15 years, but they're forgetting he's been great for the past 15 years. Means he's 37, going to be 30 years old. So you're literally getting, it's like you buying a Porsche 911 all sought out with 200,000 miles on it.
Now, he just less than a week ago turned 37, so he would be 37 for the season. So you figured he's got anywhere from probably 2 years, maybe 3 years left before he's no longer the Stafford he is now. And that's being nice about it because, quite frankly, he can go somewhere else next year and be poop all over again. Because that's what happens. When you reach that age, all of a sudden, at one point, a flip is going to switch, and you're not the player you were. We saw it. The classic example I always give is Peyton Manning his last year in Denver. A flip just switched, and he wasn't Peyton anymore. They literally had to have the conversation of whether to start him or Brock Osweiler in the Super Bowl that year. That's how bad it was. Brock Osweiler. So if you trade for Stafford, you don't know what you're getting. You don't know if you're getting the same quarterback. You don't know if you're getting a guy who's got more than a year there, even if you do get him. And what, you're going to rebuild with a 37-year-old quarterback? Now, if you're going to tell me that I can get Matt Stafford for a day 2 pick, and I keep my number 3 overall pick, and I can go ahead and draft a quarterback with number 3, let him sit behind Stafford for a year or 2, or I can go ahead and get somebody like an Abdul Carter, a Will Johnson, a Travis Hunter, and get a legit talent, and then try to go ahead and maybe get a 3rd, 4th round quarterback to develop instead. Just sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
It's a different story.
Because keep in mind, a day 2 pick means it could be round 3. Now, if you're telling me I'm giving up my round 2 pick when we have the 2nd overall pick in the 2nd round, yeah, I don't want that either. But if you're telling me a day 2 pick, which is round 3 potentially, and I can give up my 3rd round pick to get a guy who'll be a starting quarterback for a year or 2, I'm cool with that. That I'm cool with. Because look at the guys we've drafted in the 3rd round. Cordell Flott. I'm okay losing Cordell Flott. Let's see. Josh Zudo. I'm cool with losing that.
Zudo, bye.
Yeah. Jalen Hyatt? Who?
The hightail out of here.
I'm just saying, like, any of those players you would trade for Stafford in a heartbeat, right?
Yeah.
So.
All of them for Stafford.
Yeah. I'm good. Now, this year we had Drew Phillips. Drew Phillips is a damn good player. But tell me you would not trade Drew Phillips for a quarterback, even if it's just for a year or 2.
Yeah, because
most teams would. Most teams would. Stafford on the year, 65.8 completion percentage, 3,762 yards. Had, let's see here, 20 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. And played in 16 games. Don't tell me that's not a massive, massive upgrade. Now, you're going to have people also sit there and say, well, he's also a statue at this point to get a bad offensive line. He's also leaving Sean McVay, who's thought of as an offensive genius. Whether he actually is or not, I don't know. I don't play for the man. But that's
he also put up crazy stats with the Lions.
Yes. He also, the year before, Pro Bowler. Comeback player of the year in the rankings for that after having a bad injury season in 22. Was ranked 8th in the league in MVP voting. That's not bad. But you got to sit there, and like I said, you got to get a quarterback beyond him. It's a Band-Aid. You have to have a fix for that past the Band-Aid. And you can't give up a 3rd overall pick for a guy to play 1 or 2 years. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I would tell the Rams point blank to go pound sand if they wanted that.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like, that's like someone handing you a battery with 10% life left and expecting full price.
Yeah, go kick rocks.
Yeah, that's the equivalent of what you got there. So, like I said, I'd love to have Stafford. I think that you put him there, and it's not a bad fit at all. But you can't give up so many assets. But if you think that Sanders is not the guy, if you think Ward is not the guy, or if those guys are just taken before you, you could do worse. You really could do worse than Matt Stafford. But you can't overpay to get him. And as far as the Cup thing, I've said it before and I'll say it again. He's not getting traded, guys. They will cut him. He will be available. If he wants to come for the Giants and play there, go for it. I'm perfectly fine having Cooper Kupp. But I'm also not paying him a lot either because at this point in his career, he's a 700-800-yard guy. He's part of a group of receivers, number 2, number 3 kind of guy. That's what he is. The injuries, unfortunately, have taken away what he did that one season and kind of put him back to reality. So, and if you're wrong, great. But he's probably like a $10 million player now at this point in his career.
Yeah.
So, all righty. Let's talk about our draft profile we have to do with our early scouting report here on Kyle McCord. A guy, like I said, a lot of you guys have been asking for. Here we are delivering. We're like the Dominoes of Giants podcast here. And he's a Jersey boy. Wrong part of Jersey, the Philly part, but he's still a Jersey boy. So McCord was born and raised in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Went to St. John's Preparatory School in Philadelphia, alongside teammate Marvin Harrison Jr. there. Imagine having that kind of duo in high school.
Right?
Insanity. His freshman year, he was already getting attention from colleges, including getting a scholarship offer from Central Michigan. His sophomore year, he threw for a school record 2,883 yards and 35 touchdowns. That season, he committed to play at Ohio State. Also had offers for Texas A&M, Penn State, Mississippi State, and Michigan State. A lot of states liked him. That season, as a junior, he missed the final 4 games of the season with an injury, yet still threw for 2,399 yards and had 31 touchdowns. He was named the Pennsylvania Gatorade Player of the Year as a senior and threw for 1,582 yards with 21 touchdowns while completing 65% of his passes. He ended up breaking the Philadelphia Catholic League record for career passing yards at 6,887 yards. Listen, anytime you're breaking records for a conference, let alone a school, that's
you're doing something right.
Yeah, you're pretty good. Goes to Ohio State. His freshman year, McCord is mostly a backup for C.J. Stroud. Obviously, C.J. Stroud's a pretty damn good player. No shame in being a backup when you first get into college with that. He did get to start one game versus Akron when Stroud had an injured shoulder. In that game, he went 13 of 18 with 319 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. On the season overall, he appeared in 5 games, 416 yards, going 25 of 38 with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. His sophomore year, he stayed as a backup to Stroud, appeared in 7 games overall, threw just 20 passes, completed 16 for 190 yards and a touchdown. In 23, he competed with Devin Brown throughout the offseason for the starting job, both the spring practices and training camp. McCord ended up starting week 1, but head coach Ryan Day said the competition was still ongoing. After 2 weeks of starting, he was named starter for the rest of the season, though. Prior to the Cotton Bowl that season, McCord entered the transfer portal after Day had declined to say if McCord would then start the bowl game.
Darkness, my old friend. Did we lose Drew again?
No, I'm here. Did I lose you?
Maybe you did.
Maybe I didn't.
Oh.
Well,
who we are.
Here I am. I didn't say anything on my screen. Let you guys know if you lost me in the comment section. Anyway, though, prior to the Cotton Bowl, McCord entered the transfer portal after Day declined to say if McCord would start the bowl game or would he be the starter for the next upcoming season. That year, 12 games, 229 to 348 passes. That's a 65.8 completion percentage, 3,170 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And let's be very frank, if you go to the tape of Ohio State, and keep in mind he was surrounded with a lot of talent. We talked about it when Marvin Harrison Jr., ironically, was coming out. And, obviously he went to go play with his high school teammate there, that he had a down year. We said that Harrison had a down year his last year compared to what he had the prior year when Stroud was with him. And we had mentioned attributing that to the quarterback play. I remember that very specifically, saying, hey, the quarterback play wasn't what it was with Stroud. It kind of affected him a little bit. This was that quarterback.
Yeah.
So same as we said that when we said Jermaine Burton was affected by bad quarterback play at Alabama, we attribute that now towards when we talk about Jalen Milroe, because that was the bad quarterback play. You have to equivalent that into part of it. So he did, though, transfer. He did, like I said, went to the transfer portal. He ends up going to Syracuse. Literally the exact day that he entered the transfer portal, he was visited at his apartment by new Syracuse head coach Fran Brown. Now, Brown's wife and McCord's father, who, by the way, was a Rutgers quarterback, worked together. So there was a connection there. And Coach Brown had said that he kept hearing about, this guy who his wife worked with bragging about his son and how good he was even in middle school. And it was just crazy that how that all turned out to be. And obviously they knew each other from work and everything. So it was a pretty easy solution for him. A lot of the guys who actually were in like the middle school era, so to speak, of his football career ended up also going to Syracuse because of the connection to Fran Brown. So he just felt kind of at home there and went there. Needless to say, that was a very good move for him. Very good move. McCord led all quarterbacks this season in total passing yards, passing attempts, completions per game, passing yards per game. He ranked fourth in touchdowns. He was second team All ACC, was a finalist for the Manning Award, finished 10th in Heisman voting after not even being guaranteed a starting job last season.
So you're saying he had a career?
I'm saying a year.
Yeah.
Not a career, I wouldn't say. He broke the Syracuse record for passing yards and passing touchdowns. He set an ACC record for most passing yards in a season. And in his final game in the Holiday Bowl against Washington State, McCord threw for 453 yards and had 5 touchdowns. Had a hell of a season. 13 games. He had a 66% completion percentage. He threw for 4,779 yards, 34 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. That's a hell of a season, guys. There's no way to walk around that. That's a hell of a season in a very, very pass-friendly offense. So Bleacher Report gave us a list of pros and cons for him. Said, pros, mechanically sound thrower, has a quick and snappy release. Thrives playing from the pocket on time and in rhythm. Accurate pocket passer who delivers passes with good ball placement. And knows how to toggle between throwing velocity and touch down the field. Their negatives they listed. Average mobility and athleticism, not quick-footed to evade consistent defensive pressure. Mechanics and decision-making decrease when under pressure. Tends to lock onto his initial reads, needs to improve eye manipulation, and must reduce turnover-worthy plays. Now, I got to say, watching the film of this kid, everything that Bleacher Report said showed up 100% in film. It's almost like we talked about this Will Howard. Will Howard was the guy who would literally go to the line. Ironically, Will Howard took over for him at Ohio State, but McCord would go up to a line. He'd read the defense, and he wasn't like, and we said with Howard almost kind of seemed to pick what receiver he wanted to throw the ball to. McCord kind of seemed to pick what side of the field. He didn't really seem to go through progressions. He would kind of go, okay, it looks like there's going to be a lapse here on this. Let's go on to the right side here. I think one of these guys is going to pop open. There's a matchup issue here. You see it's something that he liked. And he kind of focused on that side of the field. You can't do that in the NFL.
No.
You cannot do that in the NFL whatsoever. That will get you in trouble. Point blank in a heartbeat. And then obviously the lack of athleticism that was definitely there. He's a pocket passer, 100%, guys. If you're counting on him to run, you're counting on him maybe get 1 or 2 yards. If it breaks down, he's not the guy getting 20, 30 yards. He's also not the guy getting 20, 30 yards and fumbling or falling down for no apparent reason.
Fumble.
But I look at the issues, what happens with him when he gets under pressure, and yeah, that's an issue, especially for the Giants. Like, you want to bring in a guy here that's a project guy who has trouble dealing with being under pressure and makes bad decisions when he's under pressure. That is a recipe for disaster. Absolute recipe for disaster. And
100%.
He's not a guy that I'd sit there and say you start, off the very beginning. He's a guy who needs to sit in the bench and develop, no matter what team picks him. Point blank. But for the Giants specifically, that's a recipe for disaster, because if you pick this guy, he's going to be your backup quarterback, probably behind a veteran, probably for the whole year. That's the kind of guy he is. To me, he needs to go to a guy who's a proven quarterback guru kind of guy. And no, I don't mean Brian Daboll, because again, we don't give him credit for Josh Allen. He needs to go to a guy like a Sean McVay. Like, that'd be a good spot for him in the Rams. The Vikings would be a good spot for him. That's the kind of places he needs to go. So where somebody is a legit coach that wants to give him a shot to develop. The Green Bay, good example. He had to be the backup. He's not going to replace Jordan Love, obviously. But don't tell me they don't want a better backup with Malik Willis being their backup last year. Look what happened there. Averaged like 80 yards per passing per game. But I don't think he's the guy personally. I don't think he's the guy the Giants go, you know what? We don't like these two guys up top. Let's go get a guy later on. I don't think McCord is that guy personally.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I wasn't overly impressed with what I saw. Now, is he a guy that works very well in a college system? Yes. Is he a guy that worked very well in Syracuse's system specifically? Yes. And I think what they just did is they built a system around what he did, because they had a whole brand new coaching staff coming in, and they could do that because of that. There was no established offense there. So they built an offense based on what he did well, and it kind of matched what they'd like to do, what they wanted to do there. And he thrived. And when he thrived, it's because the offensive line did their job. And I can't tell you how many times I go, oh, look at the play he made. But there was a clean pocket. He was sitting there for 5-6 seconds with nobody touching him. And when he made the bad plays, it's because he got pressure. And he started hearing footsteps, and he started causing issues. Like I said, I'm not a fan of him overall. I think if you want to develop him, you probably get a backup quarterback out of him. He's not the guy that I think you develop and try to get a diamond in the rough, Brock Purdy, Russell Wilson, a guy that you can get day 2, day 3 that you can try to develop. I don't think that's what he is. But
yeah, this dude's not Purdy, so.
But you never know. And I think if you need a backup quarterback, he's a guy that I wouldn't mind going to get. The Giants don't need a backup quarterback, though. We need a starting quarterback.
2.
Well, 3. What the hell? Let's get 5.
Yeah.
But he's not the guy. He's not that guy, guys. I wish I could tell you otherwise. I wish I could sit there and say, there's this guy. He's going to be available day 2, day 3, and he's going to be spectacular, and nobody else knows it. There's a reason they're day 2, day 3 guys. There's issues.
Yeah.
And there's definitely some issues here. And this guy is a guy who needs time to develop, to mature, to learn to do some of this stuff, and to learn to be an NFL quarterback. Not a college quarterback like he was this year, because he was a very, very college system. This is not a system you will see in the NFL. So, all righty, guys. Rob, in my little private chat box here, was kind of to tell me that I skipped a section. And I did. Whoopsies. I hit wrong buttons today. I'm skipping sections. What's going on with me here? We got to talk about Shedeur Sanders, a guy who actually does have potential. And he's going to be visiting the New York Giants there. So he was viewed on his brother, Deion Sanders Jr.'s YouTube channel, Well Off Media. He was taped telling the Colorado Athletic Department while he was working out, he said, the 30 visits start March 4th. I've got the Browns first and then the Giants. That's the only 2 right now. So it's interesting. And you know what's more interesting to me than the fact that he's visiting the Giants? Because if you didn't expect him to visit the Giants, you're freaking crazy.
Yeah, visited Tennessee.
No, what's crazier to me is he's visiting the Browns. The team that I thought there's no way in hell he would go to. And unless he's going there just to tell them I have no interest, or just being nice and saying, I'll hear you out, but I don't think I'll be interested. But I'm just a little shocked that he's actually going to even visit the Browns. Because again, we've said it multiple times this show, and I will say it again. If there's a list of teams that you're not going to allow your kid to play for, the Browns have to be on the list.
Close top one.
If not the top one.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've always heard Jets and Browns, the two teams that Dion wants him nowhere near. I have no inside knowledge in that. I've just heard a lot of people talk about that and say that I think these are the two teams, and they've all kind of gone in the same line where I think that at least one of them heard something and the rest of them just ran with it. But again, it makes sense. It makes sense. So if we're wrong in that, though, and he's visiting the Browns, that makes you wonder, will we even have a chance for a quarterback? Or then we're going to have to trade for Matt Stafford after all.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, wow. Well, we'll have to see what happens, guys. Like I said, listen, again, there's a lot of rumors, there's a lot of things said, there's a lot of visits and meetings that don't amount to anything. So, we'll have to see what happens overall, guys. So, all righty. Well, that's going to call it a night for us here. We're going to be back again for you guys Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will go through comments real quick for you guys there, but it has been a late day for both Rob and me there. So we're going to go a little quick here. There, we already went over what Deb said there. Andre said, if the minority order be Eli, in my opinion, probably about quarterback, Eli will be heard like Brady in Vegas. I think he's heard now to that whatever degree he would be heard. Whatever the Giants are going to listen to Eli on, they will listen to him right now before they even writes him a check. That's
100%.
Yeah. I don't think that changes anything. He said, well, I said Eli because he liked to be in minority order. Yeah, Eli would be the guy. Money Mike says, I'm split between Stafford because he definitely makes us way better team, but how much does he have left at his age? And if we draft a quarterback, he'll probably be sitting until Stafford's contract is up. Yes, I'm fine with that. I think it's a situation almost like the Falcons did last year. Like, listen, the Falcons went ahead and said, we're going to take Kirk Cousins. We got a quarterback. Now we're going to get an insurance policy in the draft. And we all thought they were stupid for doing it at the time. We all did. Let's be very frank on that. You did too. Don't just look at me. You did too. And look what happened. He took a step back, Cousins did. The Falcons started panics towards the end of the season. And they're probably very happy they did that now. Very happy. They still have to worry about Cousins' contract this year, but they'll figure it out and get rid of him. But it made sense, and I think that's the way to do it with Stafford. If you get Stafford, you still get a quarterback, and you have the option of getting a quarterback at that point to let him sit for a couple of years if you have to. You can go the Green Bay route.
It's okay. They've done very well.
Yeah, especially if he's young. Clinton Jones says, I would like Stafford. Deb says, if Stafford wants to win, that's pretty much lets the Giants out. Yeah, well, it depends on what you call winning. I still think if you got a good quarterback in here and you get a couple other players in your free agency, the draft, and that kind of stuff, that's why I don't want to give up a number 3 pick. You could win next year with Stafford. What you win, I'm not saying Super Bowl. But could you get in the playoffs? Potentially.
I think so.
Potential. It's not a high potential, but the chance is there. They have no chance without him. Not at least without somebody like him, a good quarterback, a guy who's an above-average quarterback in this league. Well, you put an above-average quarterback at any team, a legit above-average quarterback, to a guy who has no good quarterbacks whatsoever, you're going to increase the wins tremendously. It's that important a position. Money Mike says, I don't think Stafford fits our timeline. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. You got to have that other guy. You got to have that rookie too. He says, if we get Stafford and draft a quarterback, a rookie's going to sit for 2 years. I don't know if that's good or bad. I think it's good personally.
Yeah, you get mentored at an NFL level. So
yeah, you got the Green Bay mentality. Then Ralph says, if they do this and get Stafford, do you think it's also because they have eyes focused on Manning in the 2026 draft? The organization would be bumming to see him go to the team. I honestly, I don't think that far ahead. I don't think the Giants, think that. That's for sure. Yeah, that's definitely that's like a chess move kind of thing. We're not that organization right now to be thinking that far ahead. But I will say, it wouldn't shock me that if Manning was available and they can get him and they needed a quarterback at that point, they would go ahead and get him. That's for sure. Andre says Stafford, Tracy, Cup, Neighbors, and Theo, Andrew Thomas, Runyon, JMS, draft guard, and tackle inside would be wow. Be a much better offense. And with Daboll not calling the plays.
Can't forget about that.
Daboll not calling the plays. Then he says, Money Mike says, we're not getting Archie. If we get Stafford, we'll be win way too many games. Unless we trade up a lot, that's for sure. And you never know. You never know. Like it's Archie Manning could also get Arch Manning. I'm sorry, could also go ahead and be not as good in college as people think. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. Look at a guy like Quinn Ewers. Like everybody thought he's going to be great. Spencer Rattler. Everybody thought he was going to be great.
My favorite, Marcus Russell.
Oh well, that's a whole separate thing. He was great in college, at least. He was.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ralph says, but if they get Stafford and they trade down with the 3 pick and in return get 2025 pick and 2026 pick, I think they package that with their 26 picks to trade up. Yeah, that's what they're saying basically. Is if the Rams did that, the whole thing is to get picks for next year, so they can go ahead and move up in 26 to get a quarterback then. Big Blue in the Bronx. What up? What up? If you are not subscribed to this channel, guys, point blank. That's a dumb move. Subscribe. The Big Blue in the Bronx. And I guess they cover all kinds of New York news in general in the sports world, not just Giants as well. So if you're a baseball fan, they do a lot of baseball content as well. Do basketball, do hockey, everything basically New York sports wise. So if you guys haven't already, again, hit that like, hit that subscribe button for them as well, along with us, of course, if you haven't. Let's see here. Shanita says Stafford experienced a lot of losing in Detroit despite putting up big numbers before he won a lot with the Rams. He's also from California, so I don't know if he'd want to join the rebuilding Giants. Well, that's the beauty of a trade. And that's the thing people got to look at. If hypothetically the Rams trade Stafford, hypothetically, I think that he's not going to have a say in where he goes. I don't think there's that many teams that are like, I need Matt Stafford. Like, how many teams would you really think would be like, I need to get this guy? You got the Browns, the Raiders, the Titans, the Jets.
Yeah.
This is what makes a bad team, the fact they need a quarterback. It's very rare that a team comes around that has supposedly all the pieces except the quarterback. And then when that scenario happens, it doesn't always work out. Look at the Jets when they got Aaron Rodgers. Things fell apart. I'll give you a great example. How about the Ravens when they got rid of Trent Dilfer and got Elvis Gerback from the Chiefs, who had a great year with the Chiefs, and they thought, oh my God, we just won a Super Bowl with this bum, and now we got this great quarterback instead. And it failed miserably. Absolutely miserably. It doesn't tend to work out when we make those kind of moves. Jay says, Rob is my hero. And then says,
hero.
Get some rest, boys, until next time. Rob's the one he's one. We got one more comment then Rob's going to fall asleep immediately because he's looking like he's about to fall asleep any moment now. Rock Down Detroit Lion says, whoa, that's a crazy trade. And I can't say it's nuts. Big Blue is that guy. Listen, like I said, there's a lot of sense to it. Except for what you're giving up for Stafford. That's my only issue. 100% my only issue. I'm not giving up that much for Stafford. I'm not. I'm sorry. Like I said, if you want to give up a 3rd round pick, and I don't even mind, like, let's do a 3rd round pick and like a conditional draft pick the following year kind of situation. I'd be okay with that even. I'm not giving up premium pick for a guy I'm going to have for a year or two. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. Yeah. I can't see any scenario where I'm like, you know what, I would want a guy for maybe 1, maybe 2 years for a 3rd overall pick.
Yeah, you're trading 3rd overall. You're looking for a long time.
Yeah,
the organization.
Yeah, you got to give me a guy who's like 30, at least, as the most. I should say.
I was going to say a maximum.
Yeah, Way too old for that. So, all righty, guys, that's going to call it an 8 for us. As always, we are live every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, X, and of course, my LinkedIn profile. Of course, he loves it. He does. Look how excited he got all of a sudden. I woke him up. Of course, as always, like I said, we are available the next day on the audio podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, all the big ones there, guys. If you haven't already, again, please hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button. Then, on your ride home to work tomorrow, do the same exact thing in whatever audio podcast platform you listen to. You have both options that way. Both options. Options are a good thing, I'm told.
Options.
So, all right, guys. We'll see you guys. Have a happy, healthy weekend there. For all you lovers out there, have a happy Valentine's Day. Exactly. And I'm just saying, if you're giving out Valentine's Day gift, buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs is a spectacular place to go Valentine's Day shopping, I think, personally.
It's fantastic.
All righty, guys. Appreciate you guys watching as always. And as always, Giant fans, go G-Man! Go G-Man! G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.